The North American Championship, or the Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series, Verne has come and gone. Power of the Elements is on the horizon here, but you know what? We got to give some insight here into Top 64 and the breakdown of the event. A big 30% of you guys have not smashed a lot of crap, but let's subscribe button, smash it so we can climb up. You guessed it, the 100K ladder here. You know, we're within 2,700 of hitting, you know, the legendary 110,000 mark. So let's make that happen, all right? Top 64 here. 10 Adventure Punk, highest represented deck in Top Cut was Punk. Huh, who would have guessed? We also had 8 10E Sword Soul, 8 Dragon Link. A lot of people give me a lot of crap for saying the Dragon Link in my tier list actually had some decent representation here, and even made it all the way pretty far into Top Cut here. But you know what? I don't know what I'm talking about. Just like when I put Sky Striker in Tier 1, and people are like, no, it's not Tier 1, Robbie. You're talking about such a bad deck. Why is it consecutively doing well? Oh, but I don't know anything. Oh. Sorry, had to get that out of the way. I always love the naysayers. They're the most entertaining thing around here. We had 7 Despia. I'm not surprised about that. 5 Flunderies. More Punk. Man, it's like 15 Punk decks. Oh no, excuse me, there's more Punk decks in here. We had 3 Eldritch. That's a little bit low of a representation, but okay. We had 3 Sky Striker, 2 Plunder Patrol. Man, Douglas Haddad is really stepping things up out here with this. We also had 2 Drytron, which I'm not surprised about that. I thought Drytron would do a little bit better, considering all the other, like, things that have happened with it, but alright. We had 2 Adventure ABC. Alright, we had 2 branded Predaplants. Glad to see that that deck finally got some recognition out here. We had a Lyricalist Tri-Brigade, a Synchro Adventure. That'd be based, wouldn't it? We also had 1 Phantom Knights. Really? A Phantom Knight player made it in. We had 1 Agnister, 1 Salamander. We had a Tri-Brigade Punk? How does that work? That's kind of interesting. And then we also had 1 Marincess list. Now, a lot of you guys gave Marincess a lot of crap. A lot of people didn't want to playtest against it. You let the deck really run it through the ringer here. I'm very happy to see that. That's awesome. Top 32. So what, we had 9 Punk variants? Man, they really, those Punk decks just want to hold on for dear life here. We had 5 Branded Despia, 3 Dragon Link, 2 Sword Soul. Wow, Sword Soul didn't make it very far through top 32. Man, they really lost representation there. Okay. We also had 2 Tri-Brigades, so we've now lumped up the variants. 2 Flunder, 2 Drytron, 2 Plunder. Man, Plunder made it all the way into top 32, man. That's so impressive to me. We had a Phantom Knight Adventure. That Marincess deck made it. We had 1 ABC Adventure, 1 Synchro Adventure, and we're down to 1 Sky Striker player as you approach into top 32. Look at the amount of decks that just got amputated out of that top 64 into that top 32 grind. Like, those Dragon Link decks, they shrunk down pretty well too, but they're going to hold on here once you transition into that top 16 cutoff here, and you really start to see things here. So as you push into top 16 here, you had 3 Dragon Link. Okay, so they all made it through the grind. That's good to see. Punk gets amputated really hard here. Like, Punk got straight nerfed down to 3 variants. You're down to 2 Despia builds, 2 Flunder, 2 Sword Soul at this point, so they hung on. Marincess, Sky Striker, 1 Plunder Patrol made it into top 16. So at this point in your tournament, man, Plunder Patrol has really carried on. I don't think a lot of players really know how to handle the Plunder Patrol matchup, but I'm not going to knock it, man. I'm overly very impressed to see that it made it. Now, as you process in to the final grind here, all right, you see that Dragon Link ended up losing to Marincess. You see that Punk lost out to Sky Striker. You see that Flunder beat Dragon Link, and you see here that you have Despia getting knocked out. So then it grinds into Marincess versus Sky Striker, and of course Flounder versus Sword Soul, and the rest of the tale is history here. As you see that Sky Striker versus Sword Soul, and after the grindy game that you all saw on stream, you saw that Sword Soul ended up locking it down here one of the biggest diverse top cuts on paper, but I'll talk a little bit more about that later on here. So now we're going to pass on over to those top cut deck lists. You can kind of get an idea what's going on here. First deck list we're going to be looking at here is 4th place here, Elijah Green's. By the way, all these lists were actually shared by Konami. Kudos for Konami stepping up here. So 3 talents is the first thing that sticks out to me. I have not seen, talents has been cut back by so many players at this point. Like, it's actually ridiculous. So to see the talents was a massive driving point for this. Okay. Basic Marincess stuff, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, like I said, I do attribute throughout the massive rounds of Swiss, players not having any idea what this deck does because everybody just discounted it. And I'm not saying that was the only key factor that led to this deck's, immersion into Top Cut, but I mean, one of the things I heard this weekend was like top players will not even playing around Nibiru. So you also got to contribute like good players playing sloppy, not being on the top of their game, plus this deck coming out of nowhere. You know what? I'm happy to see it, ladies and gentlemen. I think this deck was one of the biggest off-cut decks for the weekend that players just weren't prepared for. And when you can make metagame calls like that and really catch players off guard, you know what? It's good. Also, 2 Marincess dives. You love to see that. Next up here was our top 3 list. So 3rd place here was Flunder. And yes, there is some sort of Simorgh package going on here. We have not seen the Simorgh package in this deck for a little while now. Now, I'm not saying that it's bad. No. Don't. Most players just pretty much opted to not go down that route. Getting the additional like extensions and things that you get with the package, I think is a good thing. But a lot of Flunder players have chosen to forego that. But you see Pascal here was able to carry it on through here and lock down that key 3rd place here. I also like the gnome materials down there. I know a lot of players will look at gnome material and go, like, this really isn't something that we really want to see play right now. But it worked, ladies and gentlemen. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Players, their ability to want to try out things is absolutely nice. But Flunder, Dimension Shifter, Withdrawals definitely were some of the best carries out of this weekend for this deck here. Now, as we advance along here, Sky Striker, my favorite tale. Mystic Minds. Well, I mean, of course, when you see decks like this showcasing the insanity that decks and not playing spell and trap removal really bring to the table, I've heard constantly all weekend the Mind Was a Necessary Evil was such an interesting discussion, and then all of a sudden you see this deck running all the way across the table here, even playing the Offerings to the Doomed here, skipping a draw phase for a key spot removal on a quick play spell card. You know what? I mean, Engage replaces your draw. When you slow down the pace of the game state, I mean, your hand traps will be able to carry you. It's literally what you're seeing here in the case of this overall deck here is hand traps, good, a very good recovery engine, good, and probably one of the best floodgates in the game to create and slow down the pace of the game. And that's what you really need to see in an event this big here, is powerful cards like that can detour a lot of the modern strategies here. And then we have Sword Soul also piloting Mystic Mind. Now, this is actually kind of cool to me because I never actually considered the fact of trying to play Mystic Mind in Sword Soul. Some of the very early control variants of this deck were all tossed aside by so many players because they weren't deemed sufficient. But you get the callback here to seeing those Rivalry of the Warlords in the main deck here, which really shined up things here for this weekend and definitely earned their worth here out of this event. Like, it's actually kind of crazy to me to see the amount of value that was created by those main decked cards all the way through all the rounds of Swiss and into Top Cut here. So I just want to give a huge shout out here to everybody that was able to participate, bring this event on home here, and create this crazy metagame shift, because things went dark for a good 3 weeks, and a lot of players were really in the dark and not knowing really what to do here. So that's what you'd like to see. Now, I also have one more deck list to add into the fray here for you guys. Now, this is actually Zaffy's 5th place deck list. Many of you guys might have seen this young dragon duelist walking. I got the chance to meet her and her father this weekend, and it was actually really, really cool getting the chance to see this young duelist journey come to fruition here, making it into 5th duelist. In the 5th best duelist in the world for Dragon Duels is actually quite an inspirational story. You always you don't really get to see a lot of these legend stories come through. I mean, you'll hear one every blue moon, but when you see a duelist really getting the chance to kind of step up here and have fun, that's what you really like to see here. So Zaffy played Flunder for this list, or for this weekend. You do see we are playing the power of Mystic Mine here to kind of detour and stall out things. Everybody's doing it, guys. Don't be mad. Dualities and prosperities, very, very standard stuff here. And of course, the board breakers. You gotta love to see Regeki and all sorts of good things like that. And then you will see down here a lot more of some of the older generational things where you're playing like the Novas and things to kind of weed out in case like your opponent tries to Maximus you. These option trees are fine still. Like you'll pretty much be picking the same things when you go ahead and you resolve that key prosperity. But once again, your extra deck is so diverse and so able to adapt that it's actually crazy. Also, shout out to this card being one of the best Yu-Gi-Oh cards out there. So that wraps up our Nationals in review. Please leave a comment down below. Don't make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button. And don't worry, more is to come, duel. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.